Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason, speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. In today's video, I'm doing my Gauntlet movie Gauntlet number 5 now. I'm trying to go over, trying to cover the movies I've watched this past year and also covering movies I just recently watched anyway. So stay tuned to see what that is here on Jason the Old Millennial. Hey everybody, hope everybody's doing good on this Sunday afternoon. It is for me here in Kansas. And I want to do another movie gauntlet, trying to get through. I still have a number of movies to get through that I've watched this past year and kind of do mini reviews of them. I'm continuing watching new stuff as well, so I'm going to cover some of the newer stuff that I've watched recently I'd really like to talk about. The first thing I want to talk about is a movie on Amazon Prime called 13 Lives. I just watched this a couple days ago, and I thought it was a really solid film. It's, of course, based on a true story of these, it was 12 kids and their coach in Thailand. They get trapped in a cave, and it floods because they had this monsoon season, and it came a little bit earlier than they expected. So the cave they were in got flooded, and they were trapped and couldn't get out. And then the whole movie is about the rescue of these 13 individuals, which is called 13 Lives, and how that all played out. Anyways, and so obviously I already talked about, there's a documentary on Disney Plus called The Rescue, which was one of my favorite documentaries I've ever seen. A very interesting story and incredible how it's like a miracle that they got all 13 people out alive. I mean, it's an absolutely incredible story. Definitely worth a watch, as I said, the documentary. And so it's interesting now seeing this live action of this movie. It's directed by Ron Howard, who's one of my favorite directors. And it stars Viggo Mortensen, Colin Farrell, and Joel Edgerton, I believe his name is. Kind of the three main actors that you know in the movie. And it looks at different aspects. Of course, those are the divers, the cave divers that had to go into the cave and find the 13 people, 12 kids and the coach, and what they had to go through, which is very difficult. Cave diving is like crazy. Like, even if you like diving, diving regularly in like in the ocean or whatever, like cave diving is a whole new animal all in itself. It's like only the real crazy divers like to do cave diving because there's lots of closed-in spaces. You can't see very well underwater in a cave, and it's dark usually, whatever, and it's muddy, and you have to get through closed-in places, and you have to have the right equipment, and they even talk about you have to have the right breathing techniques. I mean, it's just really incredible what they had to do, and kind of follows that story of how these middle-aged English cave divers who cave dive for fun, for hobby, are the only ones really that are able to come in and rescue these kids. And the idea, like how they had to do it, was come up with the plan of give them a sedative, whatever, and have them sleep so they can just drag the body without them panicking. Because they had to go quite a long ways underwater, which is very difficult when you have somebody who's panicking underwater. So there's a very good chance at least one of them, if not many, half of them died. In fact, they thought not all of them were going to survive. It was almost impossible. And the fact that they did it was absolutely incredible. Overall, it was a good dramatic interpretation, I think, for what I've seen. I've seen the documentary already. So watching live action, I thought it a pretty good adaptation of what I saw in the documentary, what happened. Obviously, the climax is the rescue part, which takes about an hour of the film. The film was about 2.5 hours. I would say my major criticism of the movie is that it was really long. 2.5 hours, pretty long time. And it was crazy because when they were about to do the rescue, there's about an hour left in the movie. And there's still an hour left. Like, how are they're going to film this whole hour? But it took a couple of days to get them all out. So that part, I think, hurts the movie, that the constant going back and forth and having to show how they got the kids out. That does take up a lot of time and repetitiveness that we don't need necessarily. But still very emotional. I found myself being very emotional when they got the kids out and everybody's happy. Of course, the parents are happy. Media's happy. I mean, everybody was happy. And it's kind of a beautiful thing to see. They said something like thousands of people from 17 different countries came together to help these 13 individuals out of this cave. I mean, so that's just a beautiful thing that all these people from different places, communities, coming together for one thing, for that human life is important and valuable, and that especially, kids especially, and that we really want to see them come out alive, and how we had to do the impossible to do it, and it happened. Anyway, so that it's a really feel-good movie, very emotional movie, I would say. Good performances all around. Incredibly shot. I can't believe all the underwater scenes they did. I mean, and those were really Viggo Mortensen and I know Colin Farrell they had to get trained in cave diving or whatever by the real people that did it. And they actually were in underwater in the cave shots going through. It's like a set. It's a cave set, whatever. It's not a real cave, but still, they had to go underwater and go through these very closed-in places, and things get caught, and you can panic pretty easy because you can't move and you're underwater. And Colin Farrell, I know, says that he had a lot of panic attacks and he would never do a movie like that again. So I mean, a lot of kudos to the actors for doing that, not having stunt doubles do it, but they actually were underwater, and a lot kudos to Ron Howard for how he shot all those scenes. It must have been very difficult. Anyway, so I highly recommend it, though. 13 Lives. I'd give it 3.5 out of 5 stars, which is a solid recommend on my book. Anyway, so that's 13 Lives on Amazon Prime. Another Amazon Prime movie I watched was a movie called Respect, which is a music biopic of Aretha Franklin, played by Jennifer Hudson in the movie. Recently, me and Jacob Martin on his channel, we did our top 10 favorite music bios. So I've been trying to watch a lot of music bios, because of that. So this is one of them I found on Amazon Prime. I kind of remember it came out only a year or so. I think it was last year maybe. Because there was a lot of buzz of Jennifer Hudson getting nominated for Best Actress, possibly. She didn't get nominated. It was definitely a good performance by Jennifer Hudson. I mean, sorry. I can't think of a better casting in a movie that I've ever seen. It's one of the best. It's hard to get. You have to get an actor who can act the part and look the part. But then sometimes it's hard to get the actor to also be able to get someone who can act the part and also sing the part is very difficult for some singers. Like Aretha Franklin is an amazing singer, has an amazing voice. It'd be hard to get the right person that could act and sing like her. And they did that with Jennifer Hudson, obviously, because Jennifer Hudson's an amazing singer. I think one of the top singers singing today. And she's a good actress. She won an Oscar, for Best Supporting Actress before. So she was, perfect for the part. I would say overall, though, I wasn't crazy about the movie, and mostly just because I'm not like a super crazy fan of Aretha Franklin. I mean, she does have a good voice. Respect was a huge song that I've heard on the radio, and she has a couple of big hits, of course. She's the queen of soul, I believe. She's like very big and influential in R&B music. Definitely, definitely important figure in music. Watching the movie, though, and like the performances are good and all that, but I don't know, there wasn't like a lot of music bios. I always look for like that. There's always a good moment where it's like really impresses you or astounds you or just standout moment in the movie. I can't really think of a moment in the movie that I thought really stood out, and I went, oh wow, that was a powerful, emotionally powerful moment. I kind of want to get those in the music bio. I didn't really feel like I got that in this one. And overall, her story wasn't like that interesting to tell. I didn't think like there was anything in there I thought I needed to know about Aretha Franklin. Like, I'd be more interested in watching a documentary of her, to be honest, than watching a live action of it. But, so I'd give it more like 2 stars, like, which is a strong not recommend in my opinion. But yeah, so that's Respect. Sorry, I have coughing. Another music biopic I saw recently on Netflix was Get On Up, which is a biopic about James Brown, played by Chadwick Boseman. This one I gave an honorable mention when I did my music bio top 10 list with Jacob Martin. And to be honest, like, I'm not super crazy about the film, except for Chadwick Boseman gives a really great performance. He really looked and sounded like James Brown. Of course, he has the moves, and he has a distinct voice, talking-wise as well. And so Chadwick Boseman really gave a great performance. Didn't get an Oscar nominated, which is kind of surprising, because music bios are good for Oscars usually. Of course, this is before, I think this is before he became Black Panther, and I really only knew him from Black Panther. So it's interesting seeing Chadwick in these other roles where definitely this role, he's definitely more outgoing, I think, than Black Panther or T'Challa's as he played in that movie. So he's definitely the highlight of the movie. Again, I'm not a James Brown fan. I don't care for that style of music necessarily. Obviously, I know his big hits and all that, and we see stuff happen in his career. It's some big moments. Again, I wasn't super crazy about any. There's nothing about the movie that really stood out to me except for the performance. That I went, wow, that was emotionally powerful. And it just kind of ends, and there's nothing really. Didn't have a satisfying ending to it for me. Um, and the thing that bothers me about a movie like that is like James Brown wasn't a good guy. I don't believe. There's one moment where he hits his wife, which I never like it when a guy hits a girl. It always makes me hate them. So it made me not like James Brown because he was like a little abusive to his wife. He slept around, and then we see him with his parents. His parents were terrible parents, as often in a lot of these music bios. So there's a lot of stuff that wasn't fun about the movie. But I'd still give it 2.5. I give it a light not recommend. I mean, if there was something that really stood out, maybe it could have been a recommend, just because I liked seeing Chadwick Boseman in the part. I thought he did a good job. But overall, I'd say it's a light not recommend for me on Get On Up. Next movie is an older movie that I caught on HBO Max, which has TCM on it, Turner Classic Movies. And it's a Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers movie from 1935, I believe, or somewhere around that time, called The Gay Divorcee or Divorcee. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I want to say Gay Divorcee because it rhymes. But it's another, it's another Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers movies. They did like 10 movies together. It's a part musical, part dance movie, of course, because Fred Astaire was known for his dancing. And of course, him and Rogers were really great together dancing. They did all these movies. And I've seen a lot of his major movies like Top Hat. I think Swing Time is another one. And I know there's another one in there that's pretty big. This is definitely one of the big ones I think I've heard of. So I wanted to watch it just because I knew it was like a popular movie of the time. And it's so hard to kind of analyze a movie from 1935 that's a sing dance number with Fred Astaire and Rogers, because it doesn't really hold up as much today, but I'm sure it was very popular at the time. And it's hard to criticize something that I think, well, I'm sure if I was alive at that time, that would have been like a really fun, movie, and it probably did very well in the box office, and people would love watching the Astaire Rogers musicals, so it's a movie that's just really for fun, watching them dance and sing. And I would say Astaire and Rogers are very charming when they're on scene. Like the best scenes in the movie are when they're together, and especially Astaire, I think. In the movies I've seen him in, he's a very likable character. His characters are usually very likable. Like I said, very enjoyment. I'm not so crazy about the dancing. Like I like Gene Kelly better. Like Gene Kelly, I think is just an amazing dancer. And I love his films a little more because he seems to do more creative stuff with his dancing, and he dresses up differently, and he's different situations, like dancing with, I think he dances with a broom maybe, or maybe that might have been Astaire, but I know he dances with like a mouse, Tom and Jerry mouse, whatever, in one movie. But yeah, I love his style of dancing a little more. Seems like he's more acrobatic and does like more interesting things. Fred Astaire is always dressed in the tuxedo, and he's always dancing on like a dance floor, so it's never that different every time I see him dancing. And his style of dancing isn't really that exciting to me. Like I said, like Gene Kelly. So I'm never overly impressed with his dancing. I'm sure it's very good what he does, and him and Ginger Rogers together. So I won't say it's boring, but it's not exactly the best kind of movie for me. Though I enjoyed getting to see something that, is, I think, historically significant in film, like this movie, which was very popular, and Astaire and Rogers were very popular in the movies at the time and have some significance, I think. So it was good for historical reasons to watch it. I mean, overall, I'd give it 2.5 maybe stars, like a light not recommend. Like there's definitely some enjoyable moments in there, but it's kind of a silly comedy musical. I would say overall is what's going for, and it doesn't work as well today as it did back then. But anyway, so I wouldn't say, unless you really love watching old movies, I wouldn't say it's probably one you have to watch. Anyway, so that's The Gay Divorcee or Divorcee. Another movie I don't think I've talked about yet, I watched recently is Lightyear, which is the last Pixar movie about a movie about Buzz Lightyear that influenced the toy Buzz Lightyear in the Toy Story movie. So it's not the Buzz Lightyear toy, but yet a movie about like a a fictional character that was a space ranger or whatever. This came on Disney Plus not too long ago. I didn't see it in the theater, so I waited till it was on Disney Plus to watch it. And I talked a little bit about it on Mike's Z Talks a couple weeks ago, which I'm on his Z Talks next Thursday, so definitely check out Did You Z That channel with Mike. But yeah, Lightyear, I thought it was an okay movie. I wouldn't say it was, I had bad feelings about it because the trailer didn't look interesting, and I haven't heard like mixed reviews about it. And watching it, it was maybe even better than I thought it was. Still not a great movie, but it was okay. I really enjoyed the action directing. It was really good for an animation movie. All the action scenes were done very well because there's a lot of scenes where he's in a spaceship and, you know, he's trying to go light speed and things are going wrong and he has to, you know, do this, that, and there's a lot of shots of the spaceship trying to, you know, go into orbit or whatever. A lot of that stuff was shot very well, and I thought the animation was very good. And Buzz was not, you know, he's an okay character. He's not a fun character. He's a little more serious, I think, in this. And it's not Tim Allen doing it, of course, so it's not as a funny character as he was in Toy Story. And it's not as good as the Toy Story movies, for sure, but it's a different kind of movie, space movie. And the character is like a little more serious, and, you know, you kind of get the idea behind the plot pretty quick that this is a guy that he doesn't like help from other people. He likes to do everything himself, and so, you know, the character arc is going to be he's going to learn to trust other people and to help him and not do everything himself and not put so much pressure on himself. And that's kind of the character arc, and you kind of knew that from the beginning, but it's still not a bad character arc. It's a decent character arc to have, and they did a, you know, pretty decent job, I think, with the storyline as far as that's concerned, of him kind of learning to open up more to people, you know, and become more of a people person and not a loner, you know. So like that kind of works out pretty good. But I would say overall, like, I was not like totally excited about the story, and it kind of dragged a little bit, and I wouldn't say the ending was like the most satisfying ending I've ever seen. And it really kind of lacked a real memorable character or funny characters I love in an animation movie or Pixar especially. They bring in some comedy characters in, but I don't think they worked that well. They were okay, but there are a couple, like, I would say if you've seen the movie, there's a whole thing with a pen. This guy, like, he has a pen, and he's like, do you need a pen? Nobody needs a pen. And finally, he gets to use the pen. And that was actually kind of my favorite moment, probably in the movie. I thought it was kind of funny that he finally got to use the pen that he's been talking about the whole movie. But yeah. So I think it's an okay movie. I can't say I recommend it. I probably get 2.5 out of 5 stars, which is like a light not to recommend. It's not quite good enough as I think I've heard maybe Elliot or somebody say it's not up to Pixar standards. Pixar has a standard, and it just feels like this is definitely in the middle of the road. It's not the worst Pixar movie. I would say it's like in the middle of all the Pixar movies right now in my list. Anyway, so I mean, it's not a bad movie to watch. I think kids like it. From what I heard, people that have kids enjoyed it a fair amount. So it's not a bad one to watch with your kid, probably, but it's not one I would watch again by myself anyway. So that's what I would say about the movie Lightyear. So that's probably the last movie I'll talk about on this. I didn't get through a whole lot of movies because I had some new movies I really wanted to talk about, like 13 Lives and Lightyear. So, but hopefully I get to some more next time. But this is the end of my movie Gauntlet number 5. So thank you for watching. Thank you for liking the video, and thank you to all the subscribers for supporting the channel. I really appreciate you all. I hope you have a good day.